This video is brought to you by my Patreon members over on patreon.com/habtunes. Thank you all for your support, and if you're interested in becoming a member, you can check the link in the description below. A visual artist loses hundreds of followers on Instagram after revealing their face. A Twitch streamer turns off his camera and replaces it with a cartoon image, subsequently gaining thousands more views. Without any further context, can you guess what these two creators have in common? I'll give you a second to guess. Alright, you ready? I'll tell you why. They black. This begs the question, does it suck to be black on social media? A question that pops up now that social media continues to expand, blurring the lines between cultures and communities. It's easier now more than ever to interact with and learn about the lives of people you wouldn't see every day. However, there's a darker side to this equation. From hate raids on Twitch to digital blackface on TikTok, it can be extremely exhausting to be black on these platforms. Especially if you're an active artist or creator, you have to prepare yourself for potentially some of the worst and harmful scrutiny across social media, which is the case for the two black creators I'll be discussing in this video. Illustrator Kina Marie, who has a rather large following on Instagram, decided to reveal herself to her audience. This may sound odd to you, but in some corners of the internet, there are creators who post art with faceless accounts, profiles that never show their true identity, often using an avatar in their place. There are a few good reasons behind this. Typically, this is a technique used to create an air of mystery behind the artist. Think about Daft Punk or Gorillaz. It's utilized by creators who aren't comfortable sharing their appearance, either from low self-esteem or safety precautions. Or sometimes, in my case, I'm feeling lazy and I don't want to be on cam, so I animated this cartoon version of myself instead. So you can imagine a face reveal being an incredibly nerve-wracking and potentially affirming moment for a creator with such a large fan base. In most cases, these sorts of reveals go over pretty well, like with Gorillaz frontman Damon Albarn gracing the stage for the first time during the Demon Days tour. Regardless of an artist's looks, the audience should always rock with them, right? Well, in Kina's case, it didn't go over so well. She lost hundreds of followers, having well over 100,000 followers, and now, at the time of this recording, sits right at 99,000 followers. This is still a sizable amount of people, don't get me wrong, but to lose a massive chunk like that in a short amount of time, I'd imagine would be devastating. Fellow artists across social media like Terrell Oshinoa from TikTok, who inspired this video, by the way, shout out to you, have already spoken out on this situation, with many attributing this issue to beauty standards. While I don't deny that could play a part, pretty privilege is a thing. Hello, look at me. We also have to examine the racial aspect of this matter. It can't be denied. Which brings me to Twitch partner Just Relax Kid, who we'll call JRK for brevity. Many Twitch streamers catapulted in popularity through the 2020 to 2022 global lockdown, with streamers like JRK, who's been on the platform for 10 years, reaching 77,000 followers, attaining the partner status, which, if you know how these sites work, is no easy feat. However, with the world opening back up and 2023 being the first full year of the "we outside" vibes, viewership across the board for all creators dropped significantly. In 2023, JRK's channel suffered massive dips in viewership, more so than his white counterparts. This gave JRK an idea. He started a social experiment in which he'd shut off his camera and replace it with a generic white man cartoon character just to see if anything would change. Not to anyone's surprise, things did change. Before the experiment, he was averaging between 300 to 700 views per stream. During that experiment though, he climbed between 1K all the way to 22.4 thousand views in a matter of a week. Yeah, a week. All because he changed his character. All because he turned his cam off. All because he started using this generic white man cartoon character. Now, keep that white man cartoon character vibe in mind while I discuss and showcase Kina Marie's work. Her art evokes a very whimsical, bright world, characters with very bold, loose, and playful features. Something you'd see as an editorial illustration for an online publication like Juxtapose magazine, or something akin to the corporate Memphis style that was all the rage with apps like Hinge and Uber. This is a very niche aesthetic that has roots in the Tumblr era of online art, which in and of itself ain't a bad thing. Where the issue lies is that this art style and aesthetic is typically drawn by white and Asian artists. You don't see many black people, let alone black women, draw like this. And given that her profile is of a non-black character, her profile picture on Instagram, I'd also assume the same, that she would be white or Asian. So when that face reveal happens, those fans were not greeted by the porcelain-skinned, straight-haired goddess they were looking for. To their disappointment, they were able to see a beautifully broad-nosed, kinky-haired black woman. Because let's not sit here and act like Kina is unattractive. She's a very beautiful woman. but they wanted something else. And that something else was, I guarantee you, a white or Asian woman. Allow me to break this down a little bit with a personal backstory. When I was a young habo, before the explosion of social media, I used to post my original comics to a website called drunkduck.com, which is surprisingly still around. Anyway, Drunk Duck was a place you could upload your work and naturally grow an audience of readers. It was mad simple back then. I had a series called Autumn Blood that I uploaded very often, and it grew to have a dedicated and sizable readership. The catch was that all my characters, at least the human ones, were white. You may be surprised to hear that, as the current habo you know and love is extremely pro-black, but that wasn't always the case, which I'll get to in a different video later on. Real talk, I used to hate my skin. I used to hate being black. I used to hate being dark. That mentality was reflected in my work. So that readership that I had, they all assumed, like them, I was some white teenage kid from middle America. Though over time, I started to question myself. What if my characters were black? What if I changed the protagonist out of the blue? I worried I'd lose all my fans. All those readers who came back week after week to read Autumn Blood. Long story short, I did slowly start to change things. I made new character designs and I created a whole new purpose for the story. That same readership that was in love with it dwindled, which led to me to stop posting the comic altogether and ultimately leading to where I am today with my work. Now that whole self-hatred aspect, I ain't gonna put that on Kina's jacket, but it could be why she draws that way. It could be why the majority of her characters are whimsical white women. And this mentality does exist, forcing many black artists to whiteface their way to success. We'll also get into that in a different video later on. But the point is, there's always a fear of not being as popular, of not being as successful, or losing what you already have because you're just simply black. It's like we got to choose between extremes to exist on the internet as artists, as creators, as streamers. Either you hide your identity, create racially and culturally ambiguous work, or in a streamer's case, you got to act like a to get noticed. In an article by Indie 100, JRK states that someone like Kai Cenat, you have to make an ass of yourself on a regular basis just to get noticed. An unfortunate truth in the modern age of social media, artistry, and content creation. We shouldn't have to rage bait, follow dumb trends, or just be on some shit just to have it inevitably thrown back in our faces, making us look even crazier. I do believe, with all that being said, that there is a light at the end of the creator tunnel. Despite their numbers wavering, both Kina and JRK are doing pretty well. Their communities are growing stronger, and now because that malignancy has been cut off, they're succeeding. Kina's had an influx of new black followers, including myself, and supporters that I'm sure she appreciates. I see these social experiments and face reveals as a good way to forge a stronger, more genuine audience that appreciates the artist and creator regardless of their looks. I would never, ever deny my blackness, my culture, my heritage to get ahead, and neither should you. Our vibes are way too dope to be suppressed. Don't hide from it, don't shy away from it, stand proud in it, and we can be in a better place creatively. So I asked that question again. Does it really suck to be black on social media? It can be exhausting, it can be tedious, and sometimes traumatizing, but I believe if we come together and support one another in the most genuine and authentic capacities, we can persevere and see more of black and proud artists reaching newer heights. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know about your own thoughts and experience, and let's have a good conversation. Until the next video, stay true. We out.